The galaxy was quiet in the outer arm where Earth sat among the stars. For 3,000 years, the great alien powers had kept peace through careful balance. 5 mighty houses ruled everything. The Zephyrians, who could read minds. The Kethvar with their amazing machines. The fierce Drakmori warriors. The ancient ethereals with strange powers, and the Nexus Collective who controlled all trade. Each house owned hundreds of star systems. Their war fleets had tens of thousands of ships. They watched each other carefully, making sure no one grew too strong. It was a delicate dance that had worked for a very long time. In the distant Orion arm, a small blue planet called Earth had just learned to travel faster than light. The alien monitoring stations barely noticed them. In their reports, humans were listed as primitive bipeds, technology level 3, population 8 billion, military threat none. The aliens thought humans were just another backward species that would need protection and guidance. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Odyssey as it approached the Nexus trading post. This was humanity's first real contact with galactic civilization. The trading post was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Ships from dozens of alien species docked at its metal arms. The Nexus representative who met them was tall and thin with blue skin. His name was Merchant Kelvon, and he spoke to Elena like she was a child. "Welcome, primitive ones," he said with a smile that showed too many teeth. "We are pleased to offer your species membership in our great confederation." Elena listened carefully as Kelvon explained the terms. Humans would be given 3 star systems to colonize. They would receive protection from the great alien fleets. In return, they must follow technology restrictions and pay tribute to the Confederation. They could not build weapons above a certain level. They could not travel beyond their assigned space without permission. "This is very generous," Kelvon said. "Most new species receive only 1 system. But we, like you humans, you seem manageable." Elena smiled and nodded. She asked polite questions about trade routes and cultural exchange. She acted impressed by the alien technology around her. Inside, she was taking detailed notes about everything she saw. The trading post had defense systems that were visible to anyone who knew what to look for. Elena counted weapon platforms and shield generators. She memorized the patrol patterns of security drones. She noted which areas were restricted and which aliens had access to them. When Kelvon showed her the Confederation fleet records, Elena acted amazed by the numbers. 50,000 ships in the Drakmori fleet? She gasped. "How incredible!" "Indeed," Kelvon said proudly. "The combined fleets of all 5 houses total nearly 200,000 vessels. No force in the galaxy could challenge such might." Elena agreed enthusiastically. She asked if she could purchase star charts for her return journey. Kelvon was happy to sell them, charging what he considered a fair price for such primitive customers. The charts showed every major trade route, military base, and communication relay in this part of the galaxy. After 3 days of negotiations, Elena signed a preliminary agreement. Earth would consider the Confederation's generous offer. She would return home to discuss it with her leaders. Kelvon was pleased with himself. Another backward species had been brought into the fold. The Odyssey left the trading post and began its journey back to Earth. Once they were safely in hyperspace, Elena called her crew together. "Did everyone get what they needed?" she asked. Her communications officer nodded. "Full spectrum analysis of their networks. Their encryption is at least 50 years behind ours." Her weapons specialist smiled. "Their defensive systems use predictable patterns. I counted 17 major vulnerabilities." Her intelligence officer was already compiling his report. "They think they know everything about us. They have no idea what they're really dealing with." Elena looked out at the stars rushing past the ship's windows. "Good. Let's keep it that way for now." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. When the Odyssey arrived in the Sol system, Elena was amazed by how much had changed. Construction ships were everywhere, building new orbital platforms. The asteroid belt was being stripped for raw materials at an incredible rate. Massive shipyards orbited Jupiter, their work lights visible even from Earth. At Earth Command, Elena gave her report to Admiral Zhang Wei and the Global Defense Council. She described the Confederation's offer and the alien fleet numbers. She handed over the star charts and intelligence data her crew had gathered. "They think we have 8 billion people on one planet," Elena said. "They think our technology is primitive. They believe we're grateful for their protection." Admiral Zhang studied the star charts. "And they have no idea about the other colonies?" "None at all," Elena confirmed. "Their monitoring stations only watch systems with obvious signs of technology. They've never looked for hidden settlements or dark space construction." Defense Minister Chen looked at the fleet reports. 200,000 ships total for the entire Confederation? "That's what they told me," Elena said. The council members exchanged glances. Admiral Zhang turned to his aide. "What's our current fleet strength?" "As of this morning, sir, 847,000 vessels of all classes. Production facilities are currently building another 12,000 per month." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She had known Earth was building ships, but she had not realized the scale. 800,000 ships? She whispered. "The Confederation has been watching us for 50 years, Admiral Zhang explained. "They think they see everything, but they only see what we want them to see. While they've been counting the ships around Earth, they've ignored the dark between the stars." Minister Chen activated a holographic map of the galaxy. Thousands of red dots appeared, scattered throughout empty space. Each dot represents a human settlement, hidden colonies on rogue planets, orbital habitats around dead stars, mining operations in asteroid fields they think are empty. Elena stared at the map. There were red dots everywhere, even in regions the Confederation considered uninhabited. "How many people are we really?" "Current population across all settlements is approximately 400 billion, Admiral Zhang said. "And every single one of them has been preparing for this day." The Admiral stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth's capital city. "The Confederation thinks they're offering us membership. What they don't understand is that we've been waiting for them to make contact. Everything we've built, everything we've planned, has been leading to this moment." Elena looked at the star charts she had brought back from the trading post. "What do we do now?" Admiral Zhang smiled. "Now we let them think they're in control. We'll send diplomatic messages thanking them for their generous offer. We'll ask for time to consider their terms, and while they're congratulating themselves on finding another primitive species to protect," he pressed a button on his desk. Around the solar system, thousands of shipyards received the same signal. Construction crews began working double shifts. The hidden fleets throughout the galaxy received new orders. "We finish our preparations," Admiral Zhang said. "The Confederation is about to learn something important about humans. We don't make good pets." Elena nodded, understanding finally beginning to dawn on her. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought they had found another weak species to control. Instead, they had awakened something that had been waiting in the darkness for 3,000 years. The galaxy's long peace was about to end. 2 years passed after Earth's first contact with the Confederation. The aliens thought everything was going according to plan. Human diplomats sent polite messages saying they were still considering the generous offer. They asked for more time to prepare their people for galactic citizenship. The Confederation Council was patient. They had dealt with primitive species before. It always took time for backward civilizations to accept their place in the galaxy's natural order. War leader Thexmore of the Drakmori was growing impatient. His species valued strength above all else, and he saw Earth's delays as weakness. "These humans are stalling," he told the council. "They need to learn respect." The other council members tried to calm him. "They are primitive," said ethereal Sage Vorth. "Give them time to understand their situation." "Time breeds arrogance," Thexmore growled. "I will show them what happens to species that do not know their place." Without waiting for council approval, Thexmore dispatched a small fleet to the human territories. 12 heavy dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying a planet's surface. It was meant to be a simple show of force. The humans would see real military power and quickly agree to all terms. The Drakmori fleet entered the Sol system expecting to find a few primitive ships guarding one small world. Instead, they found nothing. Earth was there, blue and peaceful in the distance, but there were no ships, no orbital platforms, no signs of technology at all. Fleet Commander Kresh studied his sensors. This is impossible. Intelligence reports showed industrial activity here. Scan again, ordered Thexmore from his flagship. These primitives cannot have simply vanished. The scanners found nothing. No ships, no weapons, no defensive systems. It was as if 8 billion humans had simply disappeared. The fleet moved closer to Earth, searching for any sign of the civilization they knew was there. That was when the trap closed. The human ships did not appear on sensors because they were not there in the normal sense. They existed in a space between dimensions, hidden by technology the Confederation had never imagined. When they translated back into normal space, they surrounded the Drakmori fleet completely. Commander Kresh had one moment to realize how wrong their intelligence had been. The ships surrounding them were not primitive. They were larger than Confederation dreadnoughts, armed with weapons that registered as pure energy on his sensors. There were not dozens of them or even hundreds. There were thousands. Drakmori vessels, came a calm human voice over the communication channel. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. You have entered our space without permission. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of this system. Thexmore's rage overwhelmed his tactical sense. You dare threaten us? We are Drakmori. We do not retreat from primitives. Very well, Admiral Chen replied. Her voice remained perfectly calm. All Earth ships, weapons free. Disable their engines but do not destroy them. We want them to carry a message back to their council. What followed could not be called a battle. The Drakmori ships had trained for combat against enemies who fought with similar technology and tactics. They had no experience facing humans. The Earth ships moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Their weapons fired in precise patterns that overwhelmed Drakmori shields in seconds. When the alien ships tried to return fire, the human vessels simply were not where the targeting computers said they should be. In 7 minutes, all 12 Drakmori dreadnoughts were disabled. Their engines were destroyed. Their weapons were offline. Their life support was failing. But the crews were alive. War Leader Thexmore, Admiral Chen's voice came over the emergency channel. Your ships will be repaired enough to return to Confederation space. When you arrive, please deliver this message to your council. A data packet transmitted to the Drakmori flagship. Thexmore opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a complete technical analysis of every weakness in his ship's designs, detailed records of Drakmori fleet movements over the past 2 years, and communication intercepts, proving that humans had been monitoring Confederation activities since first contact. At the bottom of the file was a simple note. Earth extends greetings to the Confederation Council. We look forward to renegotiating our membership terms at your earliest convenience. The Drakmori limped back to Confederation space with news that terrified the Council. The humans were not primitive. They were not weak, and they had been watching the Confederation for much longer than anyone had realized. Emergency sessions were called. Intelligence agencies scrambled to find out what they had missed. Deep space monitoring stations reviewed years of data, looking for signs of human activity they had overlooked. What they found made the situation worse. There were energy signatures throughout the galaxy that had been dismissed as natural phenomena. Gravitational anomalies that had been explained as dark matter interactions. Communication bursts that had been classified as random cosmic noise. All of it pointed to one terrifying conclusion. Humans were everywhere. The Confederation's best analysts worked around the clock to understand their true situation. They discovered that human monitoring stations had been watching every major Confederation military base for decades. Trade route traffic was being tracked in real time. Even the Council's private communications appeared to have been intercepted. 3 days after the Drakmori incident, long-range sensors detected something that made the situation even worse. Massive energy signatures were approaching the Confederation's central systems. The scale was unlike anything in their databases. Size estimates? Asked Confederation Admiral Vextar. The formation stretches across 12 light hours, his sensor officer replied in a shaking voice. Individual contacts number in the... I cannot get an accurate count. The computer keeps increasing the estimate. Give me your best guess. Based on energy signatures and gravitational displacement. Approximately 500,000 vessels of various classes. The command center fell silent. 500,000 ships was more than double the entire combined Confederation fleet. And these were just the ones they could detect approaching through normal space. Admiral Vextar activated the emergency broadcast system. All Confederation forces, this is Central Command. Unknown fleet approaching Sector 7. All available ships move to intercept positions. This is not a drill. But even as he gave the orders, Admiral Vextar knew it was pointless. If the humans had 500,000 ships in just this one fleet, how many more were hidden throughout the galaxy? The answer came 18 hours later, when the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the Confederation capital world. What appeared on their screens destroyed any hope that this was some kind of misunderstanding. The ships were massive. The smallest were larger than Confederation destroyers. The largest, dwarfed orbital space stations. They moved in formations that spoke of discipline and training far beyond what any primitive species should possess. At the center of the formation was a vessel so large that it registered on planetary gravitational sensors. The human flagship was essentially a mobile city, bristling with weapons and surrounded by escort groups that were each larger than most Confederation fleets. Admiral Zhang Wei's voice came over all communication channels, broadcast to every world in Confederation space. Greetings to the Confederation Council. I am Admiral Zhang Wei of the United Earth Navy. We have come to renegotiate our membership in your galactic community. The council members stared at their screens in shock. Confederation Admiral Vextar tried to maintain his dignity. Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Confederation space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Vextar, Zhang Wei replied, and his use of the alien's name sent chills through the command center. Your combined fleet strength is currently 197,000 vessels. Our advance fleet numbers 547,000. Our total military strength is considerably higher. He paused to let that sink in. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to destroy. We are here to establish humanity's proper place in galactic affairs. The terms of our previous negotiations are no longer acceptable. On every Confederation world, emergency sessions were called. Military commanders reviewed their defensive capabilities and found them lacking. Political leaders tried to understand how they could have been so completely misled about human capabilities. The truth was simple and terrifying. Humans had spent 50 years pretending to be weak while building the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. They had colonies throughout supposedly empty space. They had technologies that made Confederation systems look primitive, and they had been preparing for this moment since the day they first detected alien signals. Admiral Vextar looked at his tactical displays showing the human fleet deployment. Every angle was covered. Every approach route was blocked. His own ships were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned. What do you want? He asked finally. A new agreement, Admiral Zhang Wei replied. One between equals. The Confederation Council will convene in 7 days to discuss terms. Until then, consider yourselves under Earth's protection. The last part was delivered with such casual confidence that it sent shockwaves through every alien government. Earth was not asking for protection anymore. They were offering it. The galaxy's balance of power had just shifted dramatically. The 5 great houses that had ruled for 3,000 years were now faced with a 6th power that made them all look weak. The humans had emerged from the darkness, and nothing would ever be the same. The Confederation Council demanded answers. How had a primitive species built such a massive fleet? Where did they get the resources? How had they hidden so completely for so long? Admiral Zhang Wei was happy to explain. He stood before the council representatives via holographic link. his image appearing in the great chamber where alien leaders had made decisions for 3,000 years. Behind him, human ships filled the space around the capital world like a metal storm. "Honorable council members," Zhang Wei began, his voice respectful but confident. "You have been operating under a false assumption. You believed Earth was our only world. This is incorrect." The council members exchanged worried looks. Confederation intelligence had been certain about human population and territory. They had monitored Earth for decades. "Please clarify," said Zephyrian mind speaker Telox, his telepathic abilities reaching out to read the humans' intentions. What he found made him gasp and pull back in shock. "Certainly," Admiral Zhang replied, seeming not to notice the telepathic probe. "You have been watching Earth for 50 years. But humans have been in space for over 100 years. Our generation ships began leaving Earth long before you detected our first radio signals." A star chart appeared in the chamber, showing the galaxy from a human perspective. Red dots appeared throughout space. Thousands of them scattered across empty regions the Confederation had never bothered to explore. "Each dot represents a human settlement," Zhang explained. "Hidden colonies on rogue planets that drift between stars. Orbital habitats around dead systems. Mining operations in asteroid fields you classified as uninhabited. Underground cities in the cores of airless worlds." Ethereal Sage Vorth studied the display in growing horror. "Impossible. Our sensors would have detected such activity." "Your sensors detect what you expect to find," Zhang replied. "You look for energy signatures, radio transmissions, obvious signs of technology. You never learn to look for civilizations that do not want to be found." To prove his point, Zhang activated another display. It showed Confederation monitoring data from the past 50 years, with new analysis highlighting patterns the aliens had missed. Energy readings they had dismissed as natural phenomena were actually human power systems. Gravitational anomalies were massive construction projects. Random cosmic noise was encrypted human communications. "Your intelligence networks are impressive," Zhang continued. "But they assume that primitive species will develop the same way you did. Humans took a different path." Nexus Trade Coordinator Velen was frantically calculating numbers on his personal device. "Even with hidden colonies, the resource requirements for such a fleet, it is impossible." Zhang Wei smiled. "Coordinator Velen? Would you check your banking networks, please?" Velen's expression changed from confusion to alarm as he accessed the Nexus financial systems. "What? What have you done?" "Nothing permanent," Zhang assured him. "But every major trade route in Confederation space is currently experiencing technical difficulties. Communication relays are failing. Bank transfers have stopped processing. Cargo ships are developing engine problems that your mechanics cannot identify." Across Confederation space, the galactic economy was grinding to a halt. Ships that had operated perfectly for decades suddenly could not start their engines. Communication satellites went offline with no explanation. Financial networks crashed when they tried to process routine transactions. "This is an act of war," shouted Drakmori war leader Thexmor, still smarting from his recent defeat. "This is a demonstration," Zhang corrected. "For the past 30 years, humans have been quietly improving your technology. We provided software updates that made your systems more efficient. We offered consulting services that optimized your networks. We sold you components that enhanced your existing equipment." The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. If humans had been infiltrating their technology for decades, every major computer system in Confederation space contains human-designed code. Zhang confirmed their fears. "Your military networks, your communication systems, your financial databases. We did not steal control of them. You invited us in and thanked us for making everything work better." Kethvar Tech Adept Zorn was checking his own systems with growing panic. "Our security protocols, they have been compromised for years?" "Not compromised. Enhanced. We made everything work exactly as you wanted it to work. But we also made sure that if necessary, we could make it not work." As if to emphasize the point, the lights in the council chamber flickered. Emergency power systems activated automatically, but the message was clear. Humans could reach into the heart of Confederation government whenever they chose. Ethereal Sage Vorth had been trying to probe human minds since the conversation began. His psychic abilities were legendary, capable of reading thoughts across star systems. But every time he reached toward Admiral Zhang's consciousness, he encountered something that made no sense. "What are you?" Vorth whispered, his mental voice shaking. "Would you like to find out?" Zhang asked pleasantly. Before Vorth could respond, Zhang opened his mind to the ethereal's probing. What Vorth found on the other side nearly broke his sanity. There was not one human mind. There were billions of them, all connected through quantum-entangled neural networks that spanned the galaxy. Every human ship captain, every colony administrator, every research scientist was linked to a vast collective consciousness that processed information faster than any computer. When Vorth tried to read Admiral Zhang's thoughts, he found himself connected to the entire human race. Trillions of calculations were happening simultaneously. Battle plans were being formed and analyzed and discarded in microseconds. Every possible outcome of every possible scenario was being computed in real time. The ethereal pulled back with a psychic scream that echoed through subspace. "They are not individuals," he gasped. "They are a single entity wearing billions of bodies." Zhang Wei nodded sympathetically. "Collective consciousness has many advantages, Sage Vorth. We can coordinate actions across impossible distances. We can process information that would overwhelm individual minds. And we can think as one, while acting as many." The demonstration was not over. War leader Thex Moore, desperate to salvage Drakmori honor, had been secretly mobilizing additional fleets throughout the conversation. He thought the humans were distracted by diplomacy. He was wrong. "War leader," Zhang said without turning around. "Your 7 reserve fleets are currently surrounded. Would you like them to return to base? Or shall we continue our tactical demonstration?" Thex Moore's blood turned to ice. His reserve fleets were hidden in deep space, operating under communication silence. There was no way the humans could know about them. "Impossible," he snarled. "Our movements were classified. Your movements were predictable," Zhang replied. "Your tactical doctrine follows established patterns. Your supply requirements limit your operational range. Your communication protocols have security vulnerabilities. Most importantly, your commanders think like individuals, rather than as part of a coordinated whole." To prove the point, tactical displays appeared throughout the chamber. They showed every Drakmori fleet position in real time, along with detailed analysis of their capabilities, supply status, and likely battle plans. "Your warriors are brave and skilled," Zhang acknowledged. "But they fight as individuals. Even when working in groups. Humans fight as a single organism, with millions of eyes and hands." Thex Moore made his decision. "All Drakmori fleets, attack formation. Show these primitives the price of arrogance." The response was swift and devastating. Human ships had been waiting in quantum stealth around every Drakmori position. As soon as the alien fleets moved to attack, they found themselves already surrounded and outgunned. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Human computers had calculated every possible Drakmori move before the aliens made them. Every shot was predicted and countered. Every tactical maneuver was anticipated and blocked. Drakmori warriors, bred for combat and enhanced with the best technology their species could create, found themselves fighting an enemy that had already won the battle before it started. Human ships moved with perfect coordination. Their fire patterns calculated to maximize damage while minimizing their own exposure. When it was over, the Drakmori fleets were completely disabled but still intact. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. Casualty reports showed that 97% of Drakmori personnel were alive and uninjured. "Medical assistance is being dispatched to your disabled vessels," Zhang informed the stunned war leader. "Your crews will receive full treatment for any injuries. Your ships will be repaired enough to return home safely." The other council members sat in shocked silence. The Drakmori were the galaxy's premier military force. Their warriors were legendary. Their tactics had been perfected over millennia of warfare, and the humans had defeated them without even trying hard. This was not a conquest. Zhang Wei said quietly. This was an object lesson. You have been thinking of humans as just another primitive species that needs guidance. That was a mistake. He gestured to the displays around the chamber, showing human settlements throughout the galaxy, human code running in alien computers, and human fleets surrounding every major Confederation world. We are not your inferiors. We are not your subjects. We are your neighbors, and it is time we started acting like equals. The economic disruption ended as suddenly as it had begun. Ships that had been dead in space came back to life. Communication networks resumed normal operation. Financial systems began processing transactions again. But everyone in the galaxy now understood the truth. Humans were not primitive. They were not weak. And they had been preparing for this moment for longer than anyone had imagined. The balance of power had not just shifted, it had been completely overturned. The Confederation Council will reconvene tomorrow, Admiral Zhang announced. We have much to discuss. The emergency council session convened the next day with every member species represented. The great chamber that had hosted peaceful negotiations for 3,000 years now buzzed with fear and confusion. Outside, human warships maintained their positions around the capital world, a constant reminder of how completely the situation had changed. The 5 great houses arrived expecting to discuss terms for human membership in the Confederation. They thought this would be about territory, trade rights, and military cooperation. They were wrong. Admiral Zhang Wei entered the chamber accompanied by 3 other humans. Dr. Sarah Chen, humanities lead, xenobiologist. Admiral Elena Vasquez, the woman who had made first contact. And Dr. Marcus Webb, whose title was simply listed as Deep Space Observer. Honorable Council members, Zhang began. Before we discuss humanity's role in this galaxy, you need to understand why we are here. The human delegation took their seats at the central table, placing them as equals to the great houses, rather than as supplicants seeking membership. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. You have been assuming that our emergence was about conquest or expansion, Dr. Chen said. This is incorrect. Our actions have been driven by necessity. Ethereal Sage Vorth, still shaken from his encounter with the human collective consciousness, leaned forward. Necessity? What necessity requires such deception? Dr. Webb stood and activated a holographic display. What appeared made every council member fall silent. It showed the galaxy from a perspective none of them had ever seen before, from outside. For the past 200 years, Webb explained, human deep space monitoring stations have been watching not just this galaxy, but the space between galaxies. We have been tracking movements that your civilizations never thought to look for. The display zoomed out further, showing neighboring galaxies. The Andromeda Galaxy, visible in the image, was completely dark. No energy signatures, no radio transmissions, no signs of life at all. 50 years ago, Andromeda was as bright with civilization as the Milky Way, Webb continued. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, billions of lives. Then, something arrived from deep space. New objects appeared on the display. Massive dark shapes moving between the galaxies, like predators hunting in an ocean. They were enormous, each one larger than a star system. We call them the Devourers, Dr. Chen said. We do not know what they are or where they come from. What we know is what they do. They consume entire galaxies. Every living thing, every trace of civilization, every world capable of supporting life. The display showed the dark ships entering Andromeda Galaxy. What followed was a time-lapse sequence that horrified the watching aliens. System after system went dark. Entire sectors of the galaxy simply stopped existing. The process took approximately 30 years, Webb continued. Systematic, thorough, complete. When they were finished, Andromeda was empty. Not destroyed, consumed. Every planet stripped down to bare rock. Every star drained of energy. Zephyrian mind speaker Telox tried to process the implications. You are saying there is a force capable of destroying entire galaxies? Not destroying, harvesting, Dr. Chen corrected. They use some form of technology that converts matter directly into energy. Planets, stars, living beings, everything becomes fuel for their ships. HFY Tech Adept Zorn was analyzing the displayed data with growing alarm. These energy readings, if accurate, each of these ships masses more than our entire star system. The readings are accurate, Admiral Zhang confirmed, and there are thousands of them. The display changed to show current data. The dark ships had finished with Andromeda and were moving toward the Milky Way. Travel between galaxies was slow even for them. But the mathematical projections were clear. First scout ships will arrive in approximately 18 months, Dr. Webb announced. The main fleet will follow within 5 years. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions in a dozen languages. Emergency communications were opened to home worlds. Military commanders demanded detailed intelligence reports. Admiral Zhang waited for the noise to die down before continuing. This is why humans have spent the last century preparing for war. We detected the Devourers before any of your civilizations even knew they existed. We have been building our forces specifically to fight an enemy that can consume galaxies. But why hide it? Demanded Nexus Coordinator Velen. Why not warn us? Why not ask for help? Dr. Chen's expression was grim. Because we analyzed your civilizations and determined that you could not survive contact with this enemy. Not as you are now. She activated another display showing detailed studies of each Confederation species. The analysis was brutally accurate and completely devastating. The Zephyrians are psychologically incapable of deception, Chen explained. Their telepathic nature makes them honest to a fault. Against an enemy that uses psychological warfare, they would be helpless. The HFY have advanced technology but have become dependent on incremental improvements. They excel at perfecting existing systems but rarely innovate. Against an enemy with completely unknown capabilities, their methodical approach would be too slow. The Drakmori are superb warriors but predictable. Their honor-based culture prevents them from using deception or guerrilla tactics. They would fight bravely and die quickly. The ethereals rely on psychic abilities that may not work against non-biological enemies. If the Devourers are artificial intelligences or use some form of psychic shielding, the ethereals would lose their primary advantage. The Nexus Collective is risk-averse and profit-focused. They would try to negotiate or flee rather than fight. Neither option would work against an enemy that consumes everything. The council members sat in stunned silence as Dr. Chen continued her analysis. Individually, each of your species has weaknesses that the Devourers would exploit. Combined, you represent the greatest concentration of military power this galaxy has ever seen, but your alliance is based on balance and mutual mistrust. You would spend crucial time arguing about strategy while your worlds burned. Admiral Vasquez took over the presentation. Humans studied this problem for decades. We realized that defeating the Devourers would require capabilities that none of your species possess individually. Rapid innovation, deceptive tactics, absolute coordination across impossible distances. The ability to make hard choices without political debate. So you decided to take control, War Leader Thexmore accused. We decided to provide what was missing, Zhang corrected. Humans are generalists. We adapt quickly. We innovate constantly. We coordinate through our collective consciousness. Most importantly, we specialize in fighting enemies who are stronger than we are. Dr. Webb reactivated the galactic display, this time showing human settlements throughout supposedly empty space. Every hidden colony has been a fortress. Every mining operation has been a weapons factory. Every research station has been developing technologies specifically designed to fight the Devourers. The scope of human preparation was staggering. For a century, while the Confederation maintained peaceful trade and diplomatic balance, humans had been building the largest military-industrial complex in galactic history. Our fleet numbers are only part of the equation, Admiral Zhang explained. We have developed new weapons based on theoretical physics your scientists abandoned as impractical. We have created defensive systems that do not depend on conventional shields or armor. We have built manufacturing capabilities that can replace losses faster than any enemy can inflict them. And you have done all this in secret, Sage Vorth said quietly. Preparing for a war none of us knew was coming. We have done this because it was necessary, Doctor, Chen replied. The Devourers have consumed 17 galaxies that we know of. Billions of species. Trillions of individual lives. They are coming here whether we are ready or not. She looked around the chamber at the alien representatives. The question is not whether humanity will fight this enemy. We have been preparing for that battle, our entire existence. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy will join us. Admiral Zhang stood and walked to the center of the chamber. The Confederation as it exists cannot survive what is coming. Your political structures are too slow. Your military doctrines are too rigid. Your technological development is too conservative. But the Confederation as it could be, united under a single command structure and enhanced with human capabilities, might have a chance. The implications were clear. Humanity was not asking to join the Confederation. They were offering to save it. But only on their terms. What are you proposing? Asked Coordinator Velen. Total integration, Zhang replied. Shared technology. Unified command structure. Combined production capabilities. Every species contributing their greatest strengths to a single war effort. Under human leadership, Thexmore said bitterly. Under competent leadership, Zhang corrected. We have been preparing for this war longer than your species have known it was coming. We have the infrastructure, the weapons, and the strategic planning necessary to fight an intergalactic enemy. Dr. Chen activated one final display. It showed projections of the coming conflict under different scenarios. If the galaxy remained divided, the Devourers would consume it in less than 10 years. If the Confederation united but kept their current military doctrine, they might delay the inevitable by another decade. But if the galaxy adopted human strategic planning, human technology, and human coordination, there was a narrow chance of victory. This is not conquest, Admiral Zhang said quietly. This is salvation. We are offering to share everything we have built, everything we have learned, everything we have prepared. In exchange, you must trust us to lead the fight for all our survival. The chamber fell silent as the council members absorbed the full magnitude of what they had learned. An enemy beyond imagination was approaching. Their entire civilization was at stake, and their only hope was to place their fate in the hands of a species they had dismissed as primitive just days before. The galaxy's long peace was not just ending. It was about to be replaced by the greatest war in galactic history. The vote was not even close. When faced with extinction, even the proudest species chose survival over independence. Within hours of learning about the Devourers, every Confederation world had agreed to total integration under human command. What followed was the greatest transformation in galactic history. The old Confederation government dissolved overnight, replaced by something humans called the Total War Council. Every major decision was made with one question in mind. Would this help defeat the Devourers? Admiral Zhang Wei took command of all military forces with the title of Supreme War Commander. But unlike the old Confederation's diplomatic approach, human leadership was based on competence rather than politics. Each alien species was assigned roles based on their natural strengths. Zephyrian telepaths became the backbone of the new communication network. Their mental abilities, enhanced with human quantum transmitters, could coordinate fleet movements across the entire galaxy in real time. Mindspeaker Telox found himself managing data flows that connected millions of ships simultaneously. Kethvar engineers were given access to human manufacturing techniques and told to scale up production. Their methodical nature, combined with human innovation, created factory worlds that could build entire fleets in weeks rather than years. Tech Adept Zorn supervised orbital shipyards that stretched across whole star systems. Drakmori warriors were retrained in human tactical doctrine. Their natural courage and fighting skills were enhanced with human strategic thinking and collective coordination. War leader Thex Moore discovered that honor and pragmatism could work together when survival was at stake. Ethereal psychics learned to interface directly with human computer networks, creating hybrid systems that combined alien intuition with human processing power. Sage Vorth became the coordinator of a galaxy-spanning sensor network that could detect threats across impossible distances. The Nexus Collective's trade networks became supply lines for the largest military buildup in galactic history. Every merchant ship was converted to carry weapons and supplies. Every trading post became a logistics hub. Coordinator Velen managed resource flows that kept thousands of worlds fed and armed. But the greatest change was in how the galaxy thought. Human neural networks were extended to alien volunteers, creating a collective consciousness that spanned multiple species. For the first time in galactic history, different civilizations could truly understand each other. The transformation was not without problems. Many aliens struggled to adapt to human efficiency. Others resented taking orders from a species they had considered primitive. Some entire worlds had to be evacuated when their populations could not adjust to the new reality. But it worked. Within 18 months, the galaxy had been converted into a single massive war machine. Production capabilities increased by 500%. Fleet strength grew from hundreds of thousands of ships to millions. Most importantly, every world, every ship, and every individual was united in common purpose. They finished just in time. The first Devourer scout ships arrived exactly when human calculations predicted they would. 3 vessels, each one the size of a small moon, emerged from dark space at the galaxy's edge. They began scanning nearby systems with energy beams that could be detected from thousands of light-years away. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Human strategy did not believe in fair fights or honorable combat. When facing extinction, the only acceptable approach was massive overkill. A fleet of 50,000 ships surrounded each scout vessel within hours. The Devourers found themselves facing firepower equivalent to the old Confederation's entire military strength. Focused on just 3 targets, the battle that followed revealed both the Devourers' capabilities and their limitations. Their ships were indeed massive and well-armed, protected by defensive fields that absorbed incredible amounts of energy. Their weapons could destroy planets from interstellar distances, but they were not invincible. Human analysis had been correct. The Devourers were artificial intelligences that relied on predictable patterns. Their technology was advanced but not innovative. Most critically, they were not used to facing organized resistance. For millions of years, the Devourers had faced civilizations that fought them individually. Species that used their own tactics and technologies, enemies that could be analyzed, predicted, and defeated through overwhelming force. They had never faced an enemy that adapted in real time. Ships that changed tactics mid-battle, weapons that evolved during combat. Coordination that treated 50,000 vessels as a single organism. The first scout ship was destroyed in 7 minutes. The second lasted 12 minutes before its defensive fields collapsed. The third tried to retreat but found its escape route blocked by ships that had anticipated its movements. When the battle ended, the galaxy had won its first victory against an enemy that had consumed 17 galaxies. But more importantly, they had learned that the Devourers could be defeated. Admiral Zhang stood in the command center of the Galactic Defense Network, surrounded by representatives of every species. Around him, holographic displays showed the entire galaxy in real time. Millions of ships patrolled thousands of systems. Billions of individuals worked together with perfect coordination. Analysis of the enemy vessels is complete, reported Dr. Chen. Their technology is based on matter conversion and energy absorption. Advanced, but not beyond our ability to counter. Tactical assessment confirms that larger numbers will be more of the same, added Admiral Vasquez. They rely on overwhelming individual targets, rather than strategic coordination. War leader Thex Moore studied the battle recordings. They fought like separate entities, even when working together. No real cooperation between ships. Which means our advantages will only increase when facing larger numbers, Zhang concluded. The more ships they bring, the more our coordination superiority will matter. But the greatest surprise came from the examination of destroyed Devourer technology. The artificial intelligences controlling the ships were sophisticated but limited. They could not adapt beyond their programming. They had conquered other galaxies through brute force rather than strategic innovation. They are powerful, but not intelligent. Dr. Webb concluded. They process information, but do not truly think. They follow algorithms, rather than making decisions. Quote, this revelation changed everything. An enemy that could not adapt was an enemy that could be predicted. And an enemy that could be predicted was an enemy that could be defeated. The galaxy spent the next 4 years preparing for the main Devourer fleet. Production was scaled up even further. New weapons were developed specifically to exploit the weaknesses revealed by the scout ships. Defensive systems were built that could protect entire star systems. Most importantly, the collective consciousness was extended to include artificial intelligences, creating a hybrid biological digital mind that could process information faster than any purely artificial system. When the main Devourer fleet finally arrived, they faced a galaxy that had been completely transformed. The Milky Way was no longer a collection of separate civilizations. It had become a single organism dedicated entirely to warfare. The final battle lasted 3 days and covered half the galaxy. Millions of ships engaged in combat across thousands of star systems. But the outcome was never in doubt. The Devourers had never faced an enemy like this. Every time they adapted to one human tactic, 3 new approaches appeared. When they concentrated their forces, the galaxy's defenders divided and struck from multiple directions. When they tried to use their superior firepower, they found their targets protected by shields they had never encountered. Most critically, the Devourers discovered that their psychological warfare was useless against a collective consciousness. Terror tactics that had broken other species only strengthened human resolve. Despair weapons that had caused civilizations to surrender had no effect on minds that shared hope across the galaxy. The end came when human forces managed to capture one of the main Devourer command ships intact. Within hours, the collective consciousness had analyzed their entire strategic database and communication protocols. The remaining Devourer fleet found themselves receiving new orders. Orders that sent them away from populated systems and into carefully prepared ambushes. Their own command structure had been turned against them. When the last Devourer ship was destroyed, the galaxy celebrated its impossible victory. But Admiral Zhang knew the real significance of what had happened. The transmission he sent to deep space would be detected by other Devourer fleets, warning them about what they would face in this galaxy. Unknown command vessel. This is Admiral Zhang Wei of the Galactic Defense Force. Your scout and invasion fleets have been eliminated. Analysis of your technology and tactics is complete. Your strategic databases have been captured and analyzed. He paused, looking out at the stars where human ships now patrolled alongside alien allies. Warning to any additional forces. This galaxy is defended by a hybrid, biological, artificial, collective consciousness, comprising over 1 trillion coordinated entities. Local species have been integrated with human strategic doctrine and enhanced with adaptive combat algorithms. They have learned to fight like Earth. Recommend you find easier targets. This galaxy is no longer available for consumption. The transmission was sent toward the space between galaxies, where other Devourer fleets might be lurking. It would take thousands of years to reach them, but it would serve as a warning. The galaxy was safe. But more than that, it had been forever changed. The old confederation of separate species was gone, replaced by something new. A true galactic civilization that combined the best qualities of every member race. In the years that followed, expansion began beyond the Milky Way. Ships carrying the hybrid consciousness traveled toward other galaxies, seeking survivors of Devourer attacks, and offering them the same choice that had saved the Confederation. Join the collective or face extinction alone. Most chose to join. The galaxy that had trembled when Earth's Warfleet arrived now reached out to embrace the universe. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had taught it to conquer everything else. And in the deepest space between the galaxies, ancient artificial minds that had consumed civilizations for millions of years received the warning and began to look for easier prey. Earth had infected an entire galaxy with something they had never encountered before. The will to fight back. The age of the Devourers was ending. The age of humanity had begun.